are called to order concurrently at 6:05 p.m. Pursuant to Executive Order N25-20 and N-29-20, members of the Planning Commission and staff are participating in this meeting via video link, Zoom, and/or teleconference. This is not an in-person meeting. Members of the public may observe this meeting on the City of Hawthorne website or on YouTube. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Caraveo, could you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Right hand over your heart. Please begin. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Mr. Secretary, we will call the roll, please.
Yes. Chairperson Smith.
Present.
Vice Chairperson Al-Shanabli.
Present.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Present.
Commissioner Caraveo.
present.
And Commissioner Richard seems to be absent still. We'll note the time when he arrives.
Now is the time for oral communications. Because this meeting is not an in-person meeting, members of the public who wish to participate in the meeting were asked to participate by calling or emailing the planning department no later than 5:30 p.m. today, noting the item on which the member wants to speak. This information was provided on the agenda posted in compliance with the Brown Act on Friday, December 10th, 2021. At this time, if there were any messages left for oral communication, staff will either read messages on behalf of those individuals who wish to provide written comments for oral communications, or invite members of the public who wish to provide oral comments to speak through the Zoom application. Remarks, whether written or oral, are still limited to 3 minutes in duration. Staff, is there any participation from the public for oral communications?
We did not receive any written communications, and if anyone in the public wants to speak, use the raise your hand feature. And I do not believe anyone here is here for oral communications. No.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on then. Next item is Planning Commission and Airport Zoning Commission consent calendar. There are no items. So I'll recess the Airport Zoning Commission, and then we'll move on to the Planning Commission consent calendar. There are 3 items. One is the approval of Planning Commission and Airport Zoning Commission minutes for the regular meeting of July 7th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for the regular meeting of July 7th, 2021?
Do we have enough people to vote on that? Or yeah, we did.
I'll move to approve. Actually, it was Ortiz and Commissioners Ortiz and Richard that were absent.
Okay.
So the 3 of us are here.
Okay.
So I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Motion's been made and seconded. Call for the vote.
Yes, Vice Chairperson Al-Shanabli.
Yes.
Commissioner Caraveo.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Abstain.
Abstain. And Chairperson Smith.
Yes.
Okay, that is approved, 3-1 abstention.
Okay. Next item is approval of Planning Commission and Airport Zoning Commission minutes for the regular meeting of September 1, 2021. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
A motion to approve.
Okay, it's been approved. I'll second it. Call for the vote, please.
Okay, Commissioner Caraveo.
Yes.
Chairperson Smith.
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Al-Shanabli.
Yes.
Okay, those minutes are approved 4-0.
Thank you. Next item, approval of Planning Commission and Airport Zoning Commission minutes for the regular meeting of September 15, 2021. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for the regular meeting, September 15, 2021?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, I'll second it. Call for the vote, please.
Vice Chairperson Al-Shanabi,
Yes.
Chairperson Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
I'm not sure if I was
Abstain.
present.
No, you
for
weren't
that.
present.
Yeah,
No,
so
you
I'll
abstain?
abstain. Yeah.
And Commissioner Carvalho,
Yes.
and those are approved, 3 to 1 abstention.
Okay, thank you. Continued public hearings. Application 2021 PM01, vesting tentative parcel map number 74737. Now is the time and place to open the public hearing to consider vesting tentative parcel map number 74737. Maria Maharick will present a staff report.
Good evening, Commissioners. I will be presenting vesting tentative parcel map 74737, and that is a request to consolidate 5 lots into 2 lots for the development of a 2-phase mixed-use project with an affordable residential component, and obviously with a commercial component as well. The project location is, there's 5 lots that will be consolidated essentially into 2. And it's 3645 and 3659 Rosecrans Avenue. And then 3 lots on Kornblum, off of Kornblum, 14128, 14114, and 14124. And you will be familiar with this project as it, well, before I get into that, let me show you the zoning map. As you can see from the zoning map here, 3 of the lots are in the commercial zone and 3 are within the residential zone. You will recall this project. I just have a brief project history for you. More information is in the staff report that you have received. But if you recall, this project was first introduced back in 2016, and it was approved as a 2-phase mixed-use development consisting of 100 residential units and the commercial component. That hasn't changed other than the commercial component. On August 19th of 2020, the Planning Commission approved the modification of the residential component from a for sale condominium project to rental apartment units. On October 21st and then November 18th, there were some inconsistencies that were found with the project, but the Planning Commission did direct staff to address the issue so that the project can continue. On June 2nd of 2021, one of the inconsistencies that had to be taken care of was addressing the development crossing 2 zones simultaneously. And the City Council on that day did approve the zone text amendment. If you recall all the meetings that we had, and because of that, the project had been continued numerous times because those things had to be taken care of, in addition to some setback concessions that were required with the density bonus housing agreement, which the developer has addressed as well. And on July 13, 2021, the actual zone text amendment dealing with the inconsistency was addressed and taken care of, and therefore the last piece of this puzzle was the vesting tentative parcel map that needed approval by the Planning Commission, as the rest of the project requirements have been taken care of and dealt with, including the design review. So as you can see, this is just a snapshot of the vesting tentative parcel map number 74737. As I mentioned, the zone is C3, MU, and R4. There's going to be two lots. Lot number 1 will contain the residential apartment units, and lot number 2 will contain the commercial component of this project. There are a couple of things that I do want to mention. This is a maximum of a two-phase project, and also the developer will not receive a final until such time that the parcel map is recorded. So he'll be able to begin the project and go through that. And it should give him enough time to record the map before obtaining a final inspection. So with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt PC Resolution 2021-07, approving the CEQA determination and vesting tentative parcel map number 74737. And if you have any questions, commissioners, that concludes our staff report.
Okay, thank you. Does the Planning Commission have any questions for staff? This is the time for questions of staff only. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
It's just a technical question, sir, through the chair.
Were you sharing your screen? Because, I mean...
I was. It didn't come through at all?
I was just wondering whether, because when you were referring, I assumed that you thought you were sharing, but
Yes.
was I the only one that didn't see?
Oh boy.
No, I was wondering the same thing.
Okay, it was a technical question more than anything else.
I keep having, I do apologize. Let me
Okay.
try this one more time and see if it'll let me share.
It's sharing right now, but you're on the, I think
Can you
need to
see it
switch
now?
up. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I had to try it 3 times right now for it to come through. Let me just run through the slides real quick. This is the location of the parcel. There's 5 parcels actually, and they're going to be consolidated into 2. The zoning map, as you can see, there's a commercial mixed use, there's a residential component. I ran through a brief project history. There's a lot more within the staff report. And this is the vesting tentative parcel map. You have the full map, obviously, in the staff report as part of the documents that were provided to you. There's 2 lots. Lot number 1, once it's consolidated, will contain the residential apartments, and lot number 2, the commercial live-work units. And the recommendation was to adopt the vesting tentative parcel map number 74737 so that the developer can continue with the project.
Okay.
I hope that helped.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
And yeah.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for the staff?
Question. I'm not sure if they've already started the construction and what phase that they're on, if they have.
I'm sorry, I could not hear. The question was if they've started the construction?
Yeah, if they've started any construction yet.
I am not aware that they began the construction, but I know that they cleared the lots, but the applicant is available to answer that question.
Okay, yeah, no questions for staff then.
Through the chair, quick question. So all the, as you had mentioned, this went through design review. And so I recall we did have some conditions. And so all that is intact, right? All that stays.
Correct.
Change, right? Okay.
Correct. All of the conditions of the previous approvals with the design review, etc., those remain intact. This is strictly for the track map which was the only thing that had not come before you because they were not able to do so until the zone text amendment occurred.
Okay.
Okay, no other questions of the staff? Is there anyone who wishes to address the commission on this issue?
Yes.
Okay,
We would like to start with the applicant and the applicant's representatives.
Bill, Bill, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
Hey, everybody. Hello. No, Stephen, go ahead, please.
Okay. I think Maria did a great job explaining the project, and I'm not going to go over that again, but we'll address any questions. I do want to address Commissioner Caravello's question. Construction has not yet begun. Although we've been trying, we've had a little bit of a hiccup trying to get a permit. We've been, I don't want to say given the runaround, but we've been given a runaround trying to get a permit. We have worked with city staff to try to get that, but we're ready to do that. And we're ready to go. The only issue that we wanted to point out with respect to the conditions is in section 3 of the proposed resolution, the condition that no project finals shall be granted until recordation of the final map. Our concern there is that the county recorder is way backed up right now, and things are sitting in a black hole there. And if we're finished with construction, assuming that we have timely submitted the map for recordation, we would like to be able to modify that so that as long as it's been submitted, then we can get final approval so that the residents can move in. The phasing of the project is that the residential component will be done quickly first so that we can make these units available to residents, and then the commercial will be the second phase.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to say? Mr. Hassan, do you wish to?
I'm good with Mr. Goldberg's request. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody in advance on that.
Okay. Mr. Lask, are there any documents to place into the administrative record, such as late communications?
No.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner, our Chairperson Smith, we had somebody trying to call in earlier, and we're not sure if they were trying to call in for this item. And so I'm going to ask Maria to read the instructions for how somebody can call in to participate in the oral communications part before you close it.
Sure.
And then if somebody from outside wants to call in and ask a question, they'll have an opportunity to do that.
Okay.
Maria, go ahead.
Okay. Members of the public who wish to participate in the meeting by making comments can participate by calling the planning department at 310-349-2970. I'd like to repeat that number, 310-349-2970 before the close of oral communications or a public hearing. Please note that you may be put on hold or get a busy signal if there are speakers making comments to the Planning Commission ahead of you, as the call will be answered in the order received. So if you would like to call the meeting, the comments you only have a 3-minute duration that is allowed for the public comment.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll just give it a few more seconds to see if anyone wants to call in on this item. And if not, then you'll be able to close the oral communications.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I think it's been about 30 seconds since we started that. So thank you for waiting.
Okay.
Nobody's calling. Move on now.
Move on? Okay, fine, thank you. Do any of my fellow commissioners have any final comments on this item or questions of staff?
I have some questions for the applicant team. I had wanted to know how long do you think it would take to record the map?
Yeah, normally it's 6 to 8 months, but during this time, I've heard stories that maps being submitted and, you know, they're going into somebody's drawer and you can't even get people on the line at the county. So weird times right now, and you know, so we really don't have. Our goal is to record within 1 year, but who knows? I mean, you know, it could take a lot longer, and I don't want to tie in recording the map with certificate of occupancy if the structure's all done and everything's inspected and everything's safe to move in. I don't see how the map should, you know, be a hurdle for us, and especially when it's not it's beyond our control. So, but sure, we will make every effort to record it.
And then how long would it take to develop that first phase?
We have a timeline of 22 months, and then we added another 2 months of contingency. So I'd say more like 24 months.
Okay. So it sounds like, I mean, if you were to start the recordation of the map, you know, as soon as possible, that you would probably get it finalized before the completion of the project.
If the county is up and running and at their full speed, yes, way before. But you know, again, I can't take that kind of chance counting on someone else, especially everybody is working from home, and so that's you know, we don't wish to get cornered like that, especially if it's beyond our control. There's nothing we can do if the county's not replying back to us. If it's in their hands for months and months or years and years, you know, and we've done our part, and we just can't take responsibility. We can't pay the price for the county not reacting enough or fast enough to record maps. So we see it as a fair request, especially during times like this.
And then how long do you think it would take you to submit for it?
Within 30 days, it should not take that long to submit. Within 30 days, given the holidays, normally 2 weeks, but now there's holidays coming up, everybody's gonna be gone. But within 30 days, it'll be submitted. Okay. And once it's out of our hands, it's you know, it's in their hands, and it would bounce back a couple times normally for corrections and gets recorded. So normally, like I said, it's about 6 to 8 months. But who knows? Nowadays, I've heard stories.
Okay. And then do you know how long it would take for the second phase to be complete? Or when
we intend to start the second phase within 12 months, meaning 12 months into this phase, we'll start the second phase, and being a commercial will be a lot easier, faster to build. And so they should be done, I don't want to say at the same time, but almost in the same time. That's going to be a separate permit, separate everything. So that second phase, but we intend to start that within a 12 months period.
Okay.
If I may, if my questions are maybe directed to Maria, maybe, are there any negative repercussions for accommodating Mr. Goldberg's request?
For, you mean the recordation
Yes.
of the map and
Yes.
and the project finals?
Yes.
I may have to refer to our planning director.
Okay. Greg, yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Goldberg, I was giving Maria some instruction when you were speaking. Can you repeat what your request is?
Sure. We would just like to modify the condition in section 3, condition number 3, about finaling the project. If the map is not, final map is not recorded because of delays at the county, we would want to be able to get our final while the county does what it does. So, and again, as long as it's been submitted, and I certainly would have no problem with saying as long as it's been submitted for at least 10 months, a year, because we're going to submit it more than a year before we're going to finish the project. But our concern is that, as you can imagine, there's a lot to be invested in the construction. We'll be needing to make payments on that when construction is completed. We would really like to be able to fill the units and provide the housing we're trying to provide. So that was the request, was to modify that in such a way that we won't be delayed from renting the units while we're waiting for the county, which is not on a reasonable time frame if that should occur.
Okay, and Vice Chairperson, what was your question again?
My question is, are there any negative repercussions to that request?
The negative repercussions would be that we may end up with a building that crosses property lines if everything went sideways. We may also, yeah, that's about it. I mean, if the map is never recorded, we'll end up with more parcels than two. That's probably the worst outcome.
Okay.
The rest of the project has already been approved, so the design review and all the other entitlements have already been approved, so there's no risk of anything going wrong there. So it's just a question of the map being recorded or not. So we have, I think, 7 parcels there now. Well, if the map's not recorded ever, we'll have 7 parcels. Yeah.
So do you think it's a reasonable request that we add, like, if it hasn't been recorded within a year to grant that request, or?
Yeah, I think so. I like the condition that it has to be, submitted a year prior at least.
Yes.
I would even consider maybe a little bit more than that, like, 14 or 16 months prior, because it sounds like the map has been prepared or substantially prepared, and it's just a matter of getting it into the system. So I don't think that the applicant will find that objectionable. So I think that's a reasonable request of the applicant to make. I believe it's in the city's interest to get this project under construction as fast as possible. We've had a vacant lot there for quite a while, and that's never a good thing.
So, I mean, reasonably I'm just throwing this out there. If we agree on 14 months, would that be reasonable for us and the applicant?
It would be reasonable for the city. You should ask the applicant. So applicant, what do you think if we said, provided that the map had been submitted 14 months prior, would that be acceptable?
Yes, more than acceptable. We intend to submit within 30 days maximum.
Okay.
It has been prepared, and we're going to hit the ground running on that.
Okay.
We're not going to wait till last minute to submit, but yes, more than reasonable.
Okay.
As a submittal to the county, yes.
I mean, provided that the rest of the commissioners are okay, of course. This is just me speaking. Yeah. That's everything for me. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any of the commissioners want to comment on that?
I agree with Commissioner Ashnabli. And then I also wanted to see if, because I know, we have the issue with, sometimes we approve projects and, they don't develop it within or at all. And we just keep coming back for extensions. And it sounds like you guys are ready to develop, and I want to give you guys a reasonable time to develop it, but yet still have some type of
safety.
Yeah, safety net. So I was maybe proposing that, and especially since you guys are doing it in 2 phases, that there be a condition that the second phase be completed within 5 years from certificate of occupancy of the first phase, unless extended by the commission.
That modification is acceptable to the applicant.
Yes.
So, Commissioner Carville, and to staff, I thought there was a prior condition that in order to get final occupancy on the housing portion, the commercial portion had to be completed as well. Wasn't that discussed in the past, some of the meetings?
Maria, was that part of a previous approval?
I believe it was discussed. I didn't see an approval such as that on conditions, on any of the conditions.
Or what
I
about
can
the
double
previous,
check.
Map
Sorry?
approval. Maybe in the previous map approval.
Right, and that would have been back in 2016. I can check that.
Yeah, I didn't see it online, so that's what I was
Yeah,
looking
neither
for.
did I.
Because I know that one of the issues with this horizontal mixed use project, right? It's, I guess, if it was I guess a traditional mixed use project, vertical or whatnot, you wouldn't be able to get occupancy on one portion of the building without completing construction on the rest, would you?
No. That wouldn't be a thing that we could do.
And part of the requirements for mixed use, right? There's a certain percentage of commercial that needs to be part of a mixed use project. So
yeah.
To me, it doesn't make sense that we would have a mixed use project where the construction is completed, occupied for the housing, and then the commercial has a completely different timeline. And I'm not talking about a couple of months, within a couple of months. I mean, anything over a year, it just doesn't seem reasonable for a mixed use project.
Okay. Any more comments? Okay. If there are none, I will now formally close the public hearing on this item. Call on my fellow commissioners for a vote on the item. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, now we have two suggested additional conditions, but we have two versions of the second condition that we have to sort out first.
So the first condition is the 14 months?
Yeah.
Right. Through the chair, I wrote, no project finals shall be granted unless the final map has been submitted for recordation 14 months prior to issuance of permits. Is that what?
Well, we'll work on the language.
Okay.
It'll be substantially what it is now, but we'll include a caveat that says that if the county has not issued the final or the final approval
within,
and the map has been submitted at least 14 months prior, that the building permits will be issued. I mean, not the building permits, the certificate of occupancy can be issued, will be issued, or something like that. So we'll massage the language, but we do have an understanding of what that is, what your intention is, and I think we all agree on what it'll be. So we'll work on the exact language later. We'll submit it to the applicant for approval before we finalize it. Now the second was that the second phase shall be completed and we've heard 5 years and 1 year of the first phase.
Yeah, so Greg, I guess first a clarification, is that something that we can do, or that's normal that a portion of the project on the mixed use isn't completed, like everything's not completed at the same time?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Maps can be phased as well. I mean, that's quite normal. So in this case, it's really just a question of how much lag do you want to allow? That's something for you to work out between yourselves right now.
Okay. All right, so I guess I would propose the condition to limit the amount of time between the final completion of the housing portion and the final completion of the commercial. I mean, it seems like, well, I guess back to staff question, if there is no condition on that, does the developer have just an unlimited time between when the housing portion gets completed and the commercial portion gets completed?
So through the chair, I went through the initial approval, and it just indicates a two-phase project, but there is no, I cannot find a condition.
Then I would have to answer yes. However, the municipal code does have language saying that these projects have to be integrated. So there would be reason for revoking the permits, but of course, once the residential is built, we're not going to revoke the permits. I mean, that would be unreasonable on our part. So I think it's imperative that you do put a time limit on the commercial portion. It's just a question of what is reasonable to the applicant and what is reasonable for the city to find that sweet spot.
Or maybe that they obtain permits for the second phase before obtaining.
I would be more comfortable if you require a completion. I trust this developer to follow through, but you know, things happen, and you know, there's cases where things stay under construction forever. So I don't expect that in this case, but I think that we should just set a precedent that we can follow in future projects and just require completion.
I mean, through the chair, if I may, I mean, could you ask the applicant what would be a reasonable time?
You want me to do that? Or do you
Yes, please. I mean,
Mr. Applicant, what would be a reasonable time frame for you?
Well, whenever, you know, I'll answer if you guys are ready to hear my answer. Yeah, so typically it's 12 to 24 months is plenty of time. But again, right now, there's a labor shortage, as everybody knows. And so we really don't know. We can't, you know, if nothing happens, like blue skies, then within 12 months is fine. But things happen in construction. And right now there's, as we speak, big, huge labor shortage. Things are costing times and a half. But, you know, cost $100 last year in construction, now is $150. So we raised our budget to, you know, by for 50%. And we're talking big numbers from last year to this year.
Bill, given the necessity for the city to put a bookend here, but also to give you a comfort level, would you be comfortable in an uncertain climate with a 36-month window?
Yes, we could do 36.
I think that might be a bit longer than the city is comfortable with.
Okay.
I would be more comfortable to say a 1-year window with the opportunity to for 1-year extensions for good cause. So if you have labor shortages, if you have bad weather, if you have another outbreak of COVID, whatever, you come back to the commission at no cost and just explain, and then.
If we could, because the plan is to commence the commercial side about a year in, given that, I think we might do ourselves a favor to avoid having to get together, even if we just made that 18 months before we had to get another extension.
I think that's acceptable, but I would still like to include the 1 year, you know, come back if it doesn't work out for you.
Sure.
So 18 months for the first, and then if it's not going to work, you can come back and get a year extension.
Sure, that will work. Except can we tie it to, you know, of course, it would have to be 18 months plus a year from issuance of permits. building permit.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, all right.
Now, the big question is, what do the planning commissioners feel? Is that an acceptable condition?
I think
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit long. I mean, considering that we're approving one single project and not multiple projects. Now, if there's, like you mentioned, a big COVID outbreak or something that really hinders the contractor, the developer, besides, you know, labor shortage. Every construction project deals with labor shortage. So, you know, that there's a lot of building right now going on, and there's a lot of construction going on. So if there are extenuating circumstances, yes, I would say 3 years, which is what we're talking about in terms of maximum. But I would say a year, and then I would suggest a year, and then with an ability to come back for an additional year. If the developer proves there's extenuating circumstances. That's my suggestion.
And are we saying that they can get the certificate of occupancy for one phase, or that they have to get both of them together? What are we discussing?
Yeah, that they would be able to get certificate of occupancy for the housing, but they would have to complete the condition that they would have to complete the commercial within a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking maybe we could add a third condition just to make sure that they're getting the project started for that second phase, that they begin construction on the second phase before obtaining certificate of occupancy for the first phase.
That's a good condition, Commissioner Carville. I would support that as well. And that's actually a bit more important than the latter or the first condition.
Okay.
So then we still need the details on the second condition, and then the motion modified to include those, and then we're set to go.
Okay, so can we call for a vote?
I'm sorry, I have a question. I did not understand this last condition that tying the certificate of occupancy for the residential into the commercial project. I did not understand that part.
Bill, what I thought I heard was that we would have to commence construction of the commercial portion within 12 months of receiving the certificate of occupancy on the residential side.
That would be agreeable.
That's not what the condition was. The condition was that you must begin construction of phase 2 prior to receiving that C of O for the phase 1. So in other words, you said that you would spend 22 months on phase 1, but you would begin phase 2 a year in. You'd meet the condition that way.
Yeah, we can't agree to that because the construction documents can simply get stuck in the city's building department, like we got jammed for 2 years, and then that condition cannot be met. So I would tie that with pulling permit and not, pulling permit for the second phase, not, because, as we all know, some construction documents can, take much longer than expected in the city. And so I cannot agree to that part.
Yeah,
we can agree that, to finish the project within 18 months of pulling permits, right? But pulling permits is beyond my control.
So here's the problem that I see with not having that condition, is that essentially once the developer contractor receives certificate of occupancy for the housing, there's really no more teeth to compliance with starting the construction on the commercial. So essentially, we could end up with the housing project complete and potentially the commercial portion getting started with a very open timeline or never getting started.
Yeah, let's think of something else. Let's think of something else that would assure the city that this is going to happen. But we cannot tie it to
Bill,
to the
Bill,
back.
let me see if I can help. Yeah, the issue we're concerned about is we're going to be submitting plans for the commercial drawings for the commercial, well, within about 4 months, 5 months?
Within 6 months.
Within 6 months, we'll submit the plans.
Right.
The concern is that on the residential side, we have the plans, they're in. We have been trying to pull a building permit now for how long, Bill? Is it 2 months?
Oh, no, it's more like 2 years.
Okay, but after all the approvals, after getting everything fixed, after going through and correcting the prior errors, we've been asking for a building permit, and then they told us they lost the plans, and things are getting delayed beyond our control. And I think that the concern is I think that everybody in this room knows Bill, and he knows he builds a quality project. He used professional architects. The concern is we submit the plans, let's say 6 months from now, we're 6 months into construction on the residential, and the city loses the plans. And I don't mean, it's been happening. And so we don't want to be in a situation where we get jammed, because although we've done everything we can, somebody at the city knows of this condition and recognizes that if they delay the commercial side, we can't get a C of O. And that's not fair. We need to have it something that we have to do the things that are within our control. But I don't think that we should be at risk for things that are beyond our control.
And I agree with that. That makes complete sense. So I guess, Greg, we're kind of looking towards you to I don't know if there's part of that condition is that that a review by staff be performed if that condition is not met, analyze whether the fault lied on the side of the city or the contractor. But what I do want to express to my fellow commissioners is that I don't feel that we could approve this project without some sort of condition that gives the city some teeth for enforcement. Because once we provide a certificate of occupancy on the housing, if there's no condition for the commercial with some teeth, then like I said, we don't know what could happen. And essentially we could end up with just a housing project and no commercial. And nothing, I'm not intending to make a judgment on this developer. It's just simply good practice for the city to ensure those things.
And I'm sure some of that delay had to deal with some of the mix-up with planning as far as the interpretation of the code and having to make those changes. So pretty much after today, if it's approved, you wouldn't necessarily be dealing with planning anymore. It'd just be strictly building and safety for permitting. So the process should, go fairly quicker.
Well, I think the applicant does have one good point, is that we should not write conditions that that require how do I say it, third parties to play a role. Everything should be within their power. So whether that third party is the city or it's the county or anyone else, if it's not within their direct control, that should not be a condition. And I know exactly what they're talking about. There is a bit of personnel loss in both the building and the planning department recently that have contributed to some errors and loss of tracking of things. So things do happen, and it's not within their control. And so we should be very careful not to write conditions that rely on even the city's role to work as expected, because it may not. So we should really concentrate on things that they're responsible to do as part of their, process of development, that we can find that would ensure that they've invested enough, resources and time into this project, that they're going to be invested deep enough that they're not going to back out of phase 2 and then link that to phase 1. I'm not sure what that is yet. I've been thinking these last few minutes. There are certain fees that are going to be required and paid, and it might be something that we can link to. But usually they're paid when the permits are issued. So that wouldn't be something that we can ask for in advance, because we won't know until the permits are issued.
So Greg, what about if the condition is for the plan check to be submitted? If there's a time, we work backwards, we say, okay, what's the reasonable time for plan check? And we identify a reasonable time for the submittal of those plans.
I would go a step further and say, and first resubmittal, because submitting the plans is fine, but
yes,
to take an additional step and have the first corrections made and resubmitted would be more along the lines of what I would say is a more serious commitment.
And then maybe have like 90 days before certificate of occupancy.
You have that happen 90 days before. That might be. I'd rather keep it as simple as possible, because that can get a little tricky to track, because you're dealing with different departments now. But that this also, to some extent, it is relying on others, because I mean they have their architect, but that's under their control to some extent. So I'm okay with that. But I'm not sure why 90 days. Could you kind of expound on that a little bit?
Just so that it's submitted, timely, that they're beginning that construction or building process and potentially doing the construction as soon as possible.
So if they're planning on starting construction, as I mentioned, a year into the construction of the housing, right? So that would put them. So if they submit, if we're talking about resubmission, right, of plans, 90 days before final occupancy. I mean, that seems.
Now, remember, we're talking about resubmission of phase 2. Build plan check of phase 2. In order to get the condition of approval of phase 1. I don't think that including a 90-day buffer is necessary there. I think that getting to that point should be enough of a commitment.
Okay.
And if a miracle happens and they get it right the first time, then we say the condition is met. But nobody gets through plan check the first time, so.
Okay, so if the condition is met, they resubmit, right? Let's say they resubmit before final occupancy. Now, what about the tie-in for actual, or the condition or I guess, the teeth for them starting construction on that commercial component. Is that the second condition that we were talking about within?
No, the
a year?
second condition was that phase two be completed within a period of time, 1 year, 5 years,
Correct.
after some start point. So that's putting bookends, as Mr. Goldberg said, on the phase two. We still have to come back to that one.
December 14, 2021, special meeting of the City Council, acting as the governing body of a successor agency to the former redevelopment agency of the City of Hawthorne is called to order. Mr. City Clerk, please read the roll call. Can you call for the roll?
Yes, agency member English?
Especially?
Yes, that's fine. Again, if everything goes the way it should be, this conversation, we're going to look back and laugh.
Yeah, it won't be an issue. Exactly. Okay.
And that's what we're hoping for. So sure, we'll have resubmittal before of phase two before we try to pull a certificate of occupancy for phase one. Without a doubt, that one's fine. And I think the other ones, maybe we should clarify what the others are. There's was one of them that we would commence construction of phase two within a year of certificate of occupancy on phase one? Was that one of the ones that we've had?
Yes, that was one of the ones
Yes.
I thought Commissioner Ortiz had that. And the other one was 14 months, but I can't remember what that was for.
For the registering.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, let's do a recap, guys, if I may, Karen.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is tied, because we've talked so much and everybody has different ideas. So what is tied to the certificate of occupancy on the phase one? So what is really tied to, what's the contingency there? Because I do have, a banker always, that may be concerned. So they would have to be on board too. So I can't, so what is the contingency on that now?
So that would be the third condition, saying that you must go through the first plan check cycle on phase two and resubmit your first corrections. And then you're free to get your C of O on phase one.
And we must either have a recorded final map or have submitted the map to the county.
Yeah, we're okay with the map there.
Yeah.
I personally would agree to that third condition, for the exception of, I don't know how the bank is gonna look at it, because the bank is giving us a construction loan on the approved phase one project.
Yeah.
And if we start tying things together, they may not like that. And so I don't personally object to it, but I can't have the bank see it as a hurdle. Now they're gonna, look at it differently. So I don't think that's a good idea, to be honest with you guys. Let's think of something else. I don't know, but not some that would stand in my way of completing this project. We just talked about, we want to get this going, and this is not getting going. This is putting sticks in the wheels. So if we really want to get going, so let's think about some other more reasonable ways, for us to assure you that that it will happen, but not some that where the bank would say, okay, well now, Bill, we're gonna wait to see until you have that submittal, because what if you don't?
Yeah, but Mr.
So
Hassan,
I can't have that. I'm sorry, I can't have
Bill,
that.
I just sent you a text.
Yeah, in in the eyes of the city, I understand that the developer is concerned with, you know, the deals that he has with his banks, but in the eyes of the city and in the eyes of the planning commission, we're approving one project. We're not approving two projects.
I agree with Commissioner Ortiz. I think it's essential that the city have some sort of control mechanism here. So
How about a performance bond?
well, we don't do that usually. So,
well, I mean, here's the problem. First of all, Bill bought the land to do the whole project. He didn't buy the frontage on Rosecrans to leave it vacant.
yeah.
I mean, realistically, and I understand that planning that has worked with Bill directly to create this project, you guys, I think, are a little more confident, and rightly so, than the commissioners who just are seeing as a piece of paper, it's an application. But there's a lot of money invested in this project already, and the project works as a two-phase project. So we know that Bill's going to build the second phase, and the sooner he builds it, the sooner he starts making money from it. But I think that the concern is that if a financing arm of the project says, well, wait a minute, I could put up 8 or 10 or whatever it is $1 million to build the residential portion, and then for whatever reason, the phase 2 is not ready to go. Now you can't pay me back that money. And I think that's the concern that we're trying to figure our way around. Believe me, I'm not interested in paying money or spending or, you know, buying a bond. But you know, this project has always been a two-phase project. It's been approved in a number of occasions without some of these additional restrictions. You know, at some point, maybe we take it on faith, or maybe you do hold over, you know, the possibility of revoking the residential permit. I can only tell you that this has been penciled out as a mixed-use project. The properties that front on Rosecrans are commercial units. I mean, it's something like 20,000 square feet of commercial space. That's worth a lot of money. And the idea that, you know, we've gone through all this, if he didn't want to do the mixed use phase, he could have just done the residential. He's got affordable in there. He's got the ability to satisfy a need in the city and in the state, but he's trying to do a nice project. And, you know, I don't think he should be put at risk if there's any way to avoid it.
Okay, anybody else have any comments?
I mean, I definitely think that we've been trying to be, you know, reasonable to come up with these conditions that sounds like, you know, based from what you guys were telling us, that you guys would be able to meet as far as construction and submittal. So definitely, you know, the city is trying to, you know, work with you guys. And I mean, you know, you're saying that that's not going to work. I mean, as far as the bond concern, I mean, I guess we would have to come up with some type of number, you know, for that. I'm not sure if maybe staff would have to get back to us on that, or.
Yeah, I don't think that we're opposed to a bond, but I don't think we could come up with an answer today. We'd have to continue this to January 5th. And that's the downside of that. I'm open to it, but I just can't give you an answer today.
And Greg, what do you suggest we do at this point?
Well, I suggest that you make the 3 conditions that you have worked out. And I suggest that Mr. Hassan talk to his bankers, and if they object to one of them, that he come back with a proposal for a modification of any objectionable ones, maybe with a proposal for a bond to replace it. And in January or February, we can do a modification if that's okay with everybody. But meanwhile, that would give him the go-ahead to move forward. I mean, it may or may not, I don't know.
It really wouldn't. It really would not.
Okay, but we have a situation where, where the commissioners have the city's interest in in mind. That's their job here. And I don't think we've been able to come to a compromise on what we could put in as a lock on phase 2 to guarantee it. There has to be something, and we don't have any idea what an appropriate bond would be at this point. So I'm open to suggestions. I think we all are.
Greg, you've done, I mean, many projects, two-phase projects.
Yeah.
There's one right down the street on Rosecrans.
Mm-hmm.
And, I see that that it was approved as a two-phase project, and now the commission is imposing something else on us that was not imposed on somebody else.
Well, no, I don't know that. As I recall, that those phases were built in a similar time frame as yours is proposed to be. So I'm sure that there was some condition that required them to be built in a similar time frame. I don't recall now. It's been 6 years or 7 years. So we're not doing anything different. We just are looking into ensuring that if everything doesn't work out as planned, that we get that commercial built. That's all. And this is not any reflection of you as a developer in the city. This is just standard practice of what the commission is looking out for the city's interest.
Yeah, but again, this project was always, I mean, you've been there since day one, and now glad you're back. This was a two-phase project. There's no reason why we should tie in phase 1 with phase 2. Today we were voting on a parcel map, and I feel that none of these conditions should apply to approving the map. So we've been through this, again, round and round and round for years, and this is not pushing forward. This is more like finding more ways to stop this project, and we, certainly up to our eyeballs, I would like to say. So this is unfair. And
I think that you're misunderstanding the tone of the commission. I think that everybody is trying very hard to get this thing approved. We're also responsible to look out for the best interest of the city.
Right.
So I think we're just stuck on one very fine point, and that is trying to find a way to ensure that phase 2 is built and not ever abandoned. So if you could just help us get through that,
what have we done in the past? What have the city or the same commissioner what has he done in the past to ensure?
Mr. McLean, you already mentioned that you didn't want to tie any of this into a third party,
Mm-hmm.
but by tying the COO to waiting for the first phase, not just the plan check, but the resubmittal, you kind of are tying us again back to the city and their time frame to get back to us with the corrections that are requested, right? So could we concede to maybe just original plan check? The submittal, not the corrections?
That's
And
a question
Bill,
you can ask the commission.
Bill, can you?
No, it
I
cannot
mean,
be tied.
otherwise the alternative is it's not getting done tonight.
It cannot be tied to any. No, it cannot be tied because I do have an experience with building department at the city hall.
Well, what she's proposing would not even entail any action on the part of the building department, just on you.
Just that you get your plan submitted for the phase 2 before the COO. Not that you get corrections in, not that the city responds to you, that you just get those initial plans in.
Sure. Yeah. I mean that. Yeah. I thought we agreed to that.
Because I mean the goal is to get them in within the 12 months, right? So
that's the intention. I mean,
yeah,
like Mr. Goldberg said, we don't just buy a property and just not build it. We're in a building business. So of course the intention is to get it done and over. But we cannot tie it in, especially there's a loan involved and whatnot. It just cannot be tied. at all. Cannot be tied
Okay,
up.
just to say something, I mean, every project, whether it, even state projects, when they're phased in 2 phases, there's conditions for approval of the first phase pending approval of the second phase. And it's because it's a single project. It's not being approved as 2 separate projects. It's 1 project with 2 phases. So there has to be conditions that have teeth, okay? We can't say, the commission, at least speaking for myself, I can't approve a project saying, okay, I trust the developer that he's gonna do what he's supposed to do, and let's leave it at that. It doesn't matter what developer it is. There has to be teeth to the conditions that we put for the city to ensure that the project gets built as approved, as one single project.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, we could agree to submit submit construction documents, but we cannot commit to, we can commit to finishing after we receive an approved stamped plans from the city. We can commit to an 18 months after that, but in between, we can't commit to nothing in between because it's out of our control. Because we are suffering as we speak with, with building for the same project.
If I may, through the chair, I mean, if we want to move this forward today, I'm personally giving my opinion. I'm okay with the first condition, the second condition, the third condition with submittal. I think that would be sufficient. That's my opinion.
If I may, I would ask the applicant if he can accept this for the third condition, that the condition be resubmittal of after the first plan check, unless the city has taken 3 months to go through the first plan correction. So if we take 3 months or more, then you're good with just submitting.
I personally don't have a problem with it because I know we're gonna do it, except the fact that there is a bank involved in the
right. But this, what we're saying though is if the city's taking 3 months to plan check your initial submittal, you're good.
That puts us okay. So let's see if we hit the ground running. Okay, would take us probably about 3 months to submit, and wait another 3 months to hear back. So that's 6 months.
Right. At that point, you're clear. At that point, you're clear. So.
Yeah, but that's a delay of 6 months of our breaking ground.
No.
You wouldn't be breaking ground anyway because you don't have permits yet.
No, we will have permits. No, we are gonna pull permits for the phase 1, as soon as we can. We're talking about permits for phase 2.
Right, Bill, let me make a suggestion, because the commission has given us a lot of time this evening on what I think we all hope would be relatively straightforward. Why don't we do this? Why don't we accept for now that this condition, and then we'll go back and see whether the financing is going to be interfered with, and if it is, let's come back and ask for a modification.
But this won't happen until January.
No, wait, let me finish. What we're talking about, as I understand the commission, first of all, we have asked building to issue a permit for phase 1, and we've been waiting for that for a couple of months. They've eventually—
I think the time is a little off. It's more like 6 to 8 months, but yes.
Okay, so we've been waiting. So presumably, eventually, we'll get a building permit for phase 1, and we will start phase 1.
Correct, but except you're leaving one part of this, which is the most important part. There's a bank involved, and they're not gonna give us a check for $25 million with that kind of condition on the map.
Well, that's the thing that I think we have to verify, because I'm not so sure that if all we have to do is submit the plans for phase 1, phase two,
yes.
Within essentially a year, because it's going to take you 2 years to build phase 1.
Right.
And we need to have the plans into the city for at least 3 months before, assuming they don't get back, before pulling the C of O on phase 1. That's not going to be a problem. If the city plays games and they bury your plans, it's not going to apply.
But except the fact the bank is not gonna fund the loan for phase one with this kind of condition, you know, tying it to
We need to
phase.
find that out.
I pretty much know. I'll find out, but you know,
But Bill, there's no reason for them to do that when the condition is 100% in your control.
no, because no, I don't agree. Because the bank is gonna have the same position as the bank as the city. So okay, well, you know, what would happen if you don't do phase two or whatever? Then we're gonna end up with a foreclosure. So it's
Well,
not
let me
complicated.
make the following suggestion, Bill. And again, we can do this offline, but I think we want to come out of here tonight with a resolution. I think that's important. And if we have to come back next month and say we've checked with the bank and the bank won't do it, then we can at least explain to the city that we can't do it. And
So let's assume that the bank can do it, because if I was the bank, I would not take that kind of risk. Why would the bank take that kind of risk?
Well, in that case, then we'll recommend a continuation of this hearing until January 5th.
Yeah, and that'll
And
give
then-
us,
And then
that'll
we'll
give
come
us
back with a
time.
bond proposal.
Yeah, that'll give us time to either figure out between staff and
You and your
the
bank, actually.
developer, figure out an alternate conditions that will accomplish the goals of the city and will accomplish the goals of the developer.
Yeah.
You know,
We'll
but
end up
yeah.
with a resolution in the end, but it's either take what we're offering tonight and see if your bank can work with it, or
Okay, fine. Let's just do that, Greg. Thank you for, let's just do that. But I wish for, if the bank won't take it, because I'm assuming they won't, because this
And
risk is
And
involved.
Bill, we'll come back, and I'll
Well-
just say it in front of everybody. We'll come back, we'll come up with proposals, and we'll also do a little homework and find out whether there's precedent in the city for trusting somebody to build phase two.
okay,
And find out whether you're the only one they've ever done this to.
Okay.
that's fair.
Sure.
And let us know as soon as you find out, and we'll start working on working with you for alternative conditions.
Okay, fine. So yeah, let's take that as you said, and then hopefully it works. If not, then we'll be in contact with you again.
Okay.
And if I might ask, this is a question really for the chair, I think, to save time for staff, if Mr. Hassan finds out in the next day or two that it's not going to be viable, is it possible then to not put staff through the trouble of rewriting all the conditions if we know we have to come back next month anyway?
I don't understand the question.
Greg?
I think what you're asking is that if you find out in the next week, no?
Well,
That-
no, if they approve the resolution, we're going to have to write the
Okay,
resolution.
fair enough. Then the
No.
answer to my question is no.
Yeah, it's no.
I can be told no. I'll take no for an
Okay,
answer.
then no.
Wednesday.
That's
Never
okay.
will
That's what we do though. So, but in the interest of time, I think we don't want to craft the wording right now, but we know what it will be. So we'll just say that the resolution will be with the 3 conditions. And the only thing I need to know is what the number on condition number 2 will be. Will it be 1 year or 18 months or something like that? That's all.
I vote 18 months. I'm not on the commission, but that would be my vote.
I think we said 1 year with the possibility of an extension for another year.
Okay, thank you. All right, so that's your motion?
Yes.
That would be my motion, yes, with the 3 conditions.
Okay.
And then maybe just in case if we can research, how much we would charge for a bond.
Oh, yeah, I'll look into that. Yeah, but that won't be a condition though. Okay, now do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Chair,
So,
call for the vote, please.
okay, Commissioner Al-Shanabi.
This is to continue
Yes.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Caraveo?
We're motioning to continue.
No, this is a motion to approve
Oh,
With the 3
Approve with the 3
conditions.
conditions.
the 3 new conditions.
Oh.
Okay, Commissioner Al-Shanabi, Vice Chairperson Al-Shanabi?
Yes,
Okay, Commissioner Ortiz,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraveo,
yes.
and Chairperson Smith.
Yes.
All right, so we will prepare that resolution and we'll send it over for signature and then send it over to you. In the meanwhile, please consult with your banking people and let us know.
Yeah, as soon as I have that words crafted by you guys, I'll send it to them and get a word right away.
Okay, thank you for enduring this.
Thank you all for your time and attention. We know you worked hard to try to come up with something.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
We'll move on to new public hearings. We have no items. This time I'll recess the Planning Commission, call back to order the Airport Zoning Commission. Airport Zoning Commission consent calendar. There are no items. Call back to order the Planning Commission concurrently with the Airport Zoning Commission. Non-public hearing items. There are none. Administrative items. There are none. Items to be placed on future agendas. Pre-agenda for the meeting on January 19th, 2021. Minutes of October 6th, 2021. Minutes of October 20, 2021, and minutes of December 15th, 2021. We now have commissioner reports. Commissioners, do you have anything that you'd like to say?
If I may, I have a question to either Greg or Maria. I mean, I know nobody asked about it, but it's been quite an extensive amount of time that we've received our stipends.
Yes.
And I was just wondering, I mean, is that something that's being worked on or?
Yes. I wasn't even aware that it was an issue, but I approved everybody's stipends, and I was surprised because it was a whole year's worth. And so hopefully they'll come out soon because the requisitions went through a week ago and I approved everybody's. So you're going to get a substantial stipend check.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah.
And other than that,
stipend.
And I don't, you know, I wasn't here all that long, so I don't know why that happened, but hopefully we won't repeat that.
I hope so. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And other than that, you know, I wish everybody happy holidays. I know the holidays are coming, and you know, enjoy time with your loved ones.
Thank you.
That's it for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The same.
Thank you.
Any of the other commissioners have anything to say?
Just to say happy holidays to everyone. Enjoy your time with friends and family, and looking forward to to next year. Yeah, we'll see everybody next year.
Yeah.
Happy holidays and happy New Year. And update on Kal-El. I'm not sure if I mentioned he has a 60 now.
Ooh. That was fast.
Standing, not walking yet, but crawling. He's a little over 8 months now. And then he came back from Hawaii last week. So
what?
So cute. I just have to share with Sean that he's also an April baby, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, one of us.
Yes.
One of us.
Yes.
Okay, and I also would like to wish everybody happy holidays and thank all the commissioners for your support this past year. And we'll move on to another year. So if there,
Before you close, I have a question. When do we realign the commission in terms of leadership? I've
I
forgotten.
haven't done that for a while, but
Are you
normally we
interested in
do
doing it? You
every
wanna-
year.
Yeah, in January?
Probably.
yeah,
Do you want me to put that on the agenda or just wait until later? I mean, I don't mind either way. I'm happy with the leadership.
Whichever Chairperson Smith is okay with. It's his call.
Was that it? Yes?
I think he said sure.
Okay.
if there's nothing further from the commissioners, these meetings are adjourned at 7:30 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.